Hello, and thank you for tuning into this week's Mayor's Update. As always, we have a lot of important information to share with you here this week, so please feel free to share this video with your friends, family, relatives, and anyone else you think may find this information helpful over the course of the coming week. This past week, we had our National Night Out for the fourth year in a row over at Monument Park. I want to thank our prevention coordinator that works here in the city of Gardner, Veronica Patty, as well as our health director, Lauren Saunders, Angela DePrima, and everyone else who helped put that event on together for the city for the fourth year in a row. We had several different organizations out just to provide their resources on how to get involved, how to contact their agencies if you need to, and find different ways to make sure that the people in the community knew about the different resources that we have available. We had Keep Gardner Beautiful for litter prevention. We had the Domestic Violence Task Force, the Voices of Truth, the Gardner CHC, the Gardner CAC, several different organizations there just to help highlight what we have to offer here in the community. It was probably the biggest night out that we've had, and I'm sure not having one last year, many people wanted to get back out again. So I just want to say a very special thank you to everyone who put that on and was able to get that back out and going. Now, during that event, we understand we had quite a large water main break here that affected almost everyone in the city because of either water pressure or water being shut off almost citywide. This is something that was caused due to the age of a pipe and the age of the valves in the system, as well as a water hammer that went through. The valves in that area of the city were put in the late 1880s, not 1980s, 1880s. And the pipes in that area were put in the early 1900s. So when the water hammer went through, it caused the pipe to burst. But the issue is that when we went to close the valves to shut the water off at the break, the valves themselves broke because of their own age. So we had to call in a special company to cut into the line to put in a new valve so that we were able to stop the flow of water. This was probably the biggest water main break that the city's experienced in our history, per what the DPW is letting me know. I have talked to the City Council President, Elizabeth Kaczynskis, and we will be doing an informal meeting of the City Council before their regular meeting in September, in which all of the aspects as to what caused this water main break, why it was so exacerbated, what was done to fix it, and what we're doing to prevent something like this happening in the future will be discussed and presented to both the City Council and the public at that September meeting by myself, the City Engineer, and our DPW Director. If you have any questions about what happened and what we're doing to prevent that, you can always feel free to contact our office or the DPW, but we are doing everything we can to make sure nothing like that ever happens again here in the city of Gardner. What these water main breaks are showing us as things are going through is just how weak and how old our system is in some places. And when you have pipes that are 100, 150 years old in the ground, after a while, just the regular wear and tear causes them to break. And particularly when we have a much larger break, like what we experienced this past week, a lot of extra air gets into the system. And as water comes on either side of those air bubbles, it builds up that pressure and finds the weakest points in our water system. So that's why we've been seeing a lot of the breaks lately. So we are also working with our water department right now to open some of the hydrants a little more to try to bleed that air out of the system in a safer way to make sure that it's not bubbling up in one area and causing a water main break. I do want to thank everyone for your patience during that time on Tuesday and ask for your patience as we move forward to make sure that this doesn't happen. We're doing everything we can to prevent any further water main breaks that happen, but sometimes they just come up out of our control and we try to fix it as quick as we can. So please keep an eye out on the city's Facebook page. The Gardner City Hall is the official Facebook page of the city, so all of the information will be posted there. And if it is a major break that's going to affect a majority of the city, that's when we put out the code red calls about any water main breaks. But again, if you check back at the City Council's first meeting in September at about 6:30, 6:45, Council President Kaczynskis and I are still working out a time. We will be doing a formal presentation as to everything that happened on Tuesday and again, what we're doing to prevent that. Our Gardner Recreation program over at Gardner High School has been going quite strong this summer. We've got about 220 kids that have signed up to participate in our summer recreation camp that has been put on by our athletic director, Dan Fort. A lot of people don't realize that our athletic director during the school year doubles as our recreation director during the summer. And we were able to have a summer camp that we put on thanks to many donations that we received. This replaced a different playground program that we used to have a couple years ago through the Mount. That the grant funding that went to that program was cut off. So this really picked it up when the city was able to put our own funding towards a summer camp and give students something to do. It does come with a free lunch and different activities throughout the day. So I do want to say a very special thank you to all of the staff members who have been the counselors at the camp, and to Dan Fort, our athletic director / recreation director, for all they did to make sure that those students had somewhere to go during the summer. It's great to see our younger age population being active and having a place that the city is able to provide them in a safe environment to just get out and enjoy the summer. So that's very special for us to offer here, and I want to thank them very much for what they're doing. There is a brand new gym floor that has been installed over at Gardner High School in the main gymnasium. That will be on view for the public at the Back to School Festival that'll take place later in the month of August. If you're interested in seeing any pictures, those will be up on the city's website and Facebook as well. But I do want to thank everyone who's been involved in that project there. The last time that the main gym floor was redone was quite some time ago, and the new floor is really something to see. We're really doing a lot of work in the gym at Gardner High School in terms of painting the walls, getting a new scoreboard, fixing the floor. It's really neat to see. And we are still honoring the members of the class of 1992 whose portraits were painted on the walls of the gym as well. They were high resolution pictures of those portraits that were taken, and they'll now be made into posters that'll hang throughout Gardner High School to commemorate those that were that had their athletic history documented in that way there. So thank you very much to everyone who took part in those projects, and seeing how we can move forward to really make sure that our student athletes in Gardner Public Schools have a great experience to have while they're on the court, on the field, and wherever they may be. We are working at seeing if we can get the tennis courts redone at the high school as well, but that'll be something that'll happen further down the line. I want to say a warm welcome to 2 brand new employees who will be starting here in the city of Gardner in the coming week or two. Mr. Neil Viner will become our new senior civil engineer. That's a title change from the former assistant director of public works. Mr. Viner comes from us from extensive experience in the water field, and will be starting in the DPW this coming Monday. We also have a new conservation agent, Miss Katie Gertrude, who will be starting soon in our city as well. So if you see either of those 2 new employees out and about, either in City Hall or around the city, please be sure to greet them and welcome them here into the city for the great work that they'll be doing here, I'm sure of. Last year, some of you may remember that we worked with Congresswoman Tsongas's office to obtain funding to run broadband cables down Kelton Street and Wheeler Street as part of our Broadband Expansion project. Working with the Congresswoman's office and the American Recovery Funds that we received from the latest stimulus package, we are now working with Comcast to run our high-speed internet broadband cables down the length of Raymond Street and the remainder of Stone Street that it did not run to yet, down by the new Gamma location at the old horse farm. So those projects should be starting sometime this fall, but we did just secure all of the contracts and funding, and I'm looking forward to seeing us bring out high-speed internet in the last areas of the city that did not have access to that yet. So that should be very exciting to see. My office has received several phone calls this past week asking questions about a lawsuit that was filed against the city by a city councilor. The lawsuit's basic premise, per the public records of the case, is that there was a public records request that was filed for documents that fell outside of the public records law. Per the directions of the Secretary of State's office, the public records request was appealed to the Secretary of State's office, who also said that the documents, because they were related to active litigation, were not subject to being given out only because there was active litigation. If there was not a lawsuit related to the documents already pending in the courts, then the documents would have absolutely been given out. So the City Council did appropriate $15,000 to defend the city in that. The original request was for just over $81,000, but the City Council would like periodic updates at their monthly meetings on the progress of the case. So they only appropriated the first chunk of money, and then we'll come back later on to fund as we go, because the Secretary of State's office in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts is also a part of that lawsuit, so we don't know what the state will cover as well. So if you have any questions on that, please do feel free to reach out. We certainly understand some confusion that's around there, so if there's anything that we can clarify about anything like that, we are happy to answer those questions in any way that we can. But where that is an active lawsuit as well, there's some things we may not be able to say, but we'll do all the best we can to make sure that we are as transparent as possible with that process. Our senior center every Thursday at 11 a.m. has started to do bread raffles. For those of you who may not understand what that is, it's if you show up, there'll be a clipboard there with a bunch of numbers on it. You sign your name next to a number, and that is your tag that gets put into the hat. Someone there will then pull the number out of the hat, and you will be called up to the table. We normally have 4 or 5 tables full of different bread products and produce that have been donated by one of the grocery stores here in town. Hannaford's and Walmart's normally, but the other grocery stores also take part in that as well. Everyone who shows up does actually get a chance to take something, and every number does get pulled. It's just who goes up first for first pickings versus at the end, and there are a couple rounds done. So if you are interested in participating in any of the senior center's bread raffles, those take place at 11 a.m. on Thursdays right before bingo. So please make sure you're taking part in those activities if you would like to. The last thing I'd like to mention today is just a thank you to State Trooper Gray and Lieutenant Nick Maroney for putting on our first annual pool party with the police. It was a great time to see the Massachusetts State Police out for a demonstration of their dive team protocols, demonstration of how the lifeguards operate at the Greenwood Pool, and just a fun time out in a different way. We normally have coffee with the cops, and now we have pool party with the police, just to make sure that we continue to build that community relationship between the police departments and the members of this community. And we've already talked with members of the Greenwood Pool staff to see if we can start growing those programs. So now that we've had the state police and the police department out, see if we can do something with the fire department and showing how they do their water rescues, and seeing how we can grow that in the future as we work to grow the Greenwood Pool in general during our summertime. We've also been lucky enough to have completed a project through our IT department here to get free public Wi-Fi over at the Greenwood Pool as well, as part of our efforts to really expand the offerings of that service that we provide to our citizens over there. That concludes this week's update. If you have any questions, always feel free to reach out to my office at any time. During the last few weeks of the summer, please make sure you're getting out and getting involved and enjoying what we have to offer here in the city. And I look forward to speaking with you again next week. Thank you very much, and until we speak again, I hope you have a great day. Thank you.